What's going on, everybody? Today we are going to be making a Sloppy Joe dip. Now we're going to be cooking inside today because we got a big snowstorm rolling into the St. Louis region here in early January. What great way to start off the new year. But you know what? We're not going to let that bother us. Let's get started. All right, folks, so to get started, you notice here I'm using my cast iron pan. That way we can do everything in the pan because half of this recipe is going to call for us to do it on the stove top here. So cook that, brown that beef, cook some of the veggies in there with that beef as well. Let it simmer for a little bit, and then we're going to pop it in the oven, a nice warm oven. You could also use a broiler as well. Really can melt some cheese on it at the very end of the process. So let's get started. So I'm going to go ahead and start. I'm actually put my onions in first. So I dice up some onions here. Get those going in that pan. And then you could use green pepper or a red pepper. I've got some red pepper, so I'm using that today. And I'm gonna add a little bit of heat, so just a little bit of jalapeno. And we're gonna mix those together here for just a moment. Let those sweat down for just about a minute. And then we're gonna add a pound of ground beef in here. So now I've got myself a pound of ground beef here. We're going to go ahead and place in here, and I'll break it up and start to brown that ground beef. Now you could use 80-20, 85-15, any ground beef you want, or just whatever you have afterwards. Once we start getting it going here, you're going to want to drain it off. So we'll break this up, and we'll start getting it nice and brown. Now, as I'm starting to break this up and brown this ground beef, I have to tell you guys, so I don't know if I've ever told any of my listeners and watchers here that, so I'm a high school teacher, and one of the classes I teach is a couple of business classes, a marketing class, and so forth. And so one of the projects my kids do at the end of the semester, which we work on the entire semester, is they get to design their own food truck and do all the promotions, the menu, everything, even bringing in food samples. And I had a group right before the holiday break who did this whole Sloppy Joe food truck concept. So the entire 2 weeks of the holiday break, all I thought about were Sloppy Joes, thinking about maybe doing something like this. So this is what brought us to this recipe today. All right, friends, that ground beef is nice and browned in there, so it is time to drain off some of that grease. Okay, friends, so I got that grease drained out of there. You know what? Drop in the comments, how do you typically drain out your grease from ground beef? I've seen so many people do different methods. I've tried a million different methods. What I never want to do is put it down that drain in my sink, but you always hear horror stories for that as well. How do you guys do it? Drop a comment down in there for me. Let me know. All right, and then I'll maybe tell you later on how I drain that meat off tonight. So now we're going to add some more of our ingredients and then bring it down to a simmer. So I'm going to start with what will be about a 1/4 cup of beef broth. I'm glad I'm doing this recipe as well right after the holidays because these are lots of extra ingredients that are left over, a little bit of beef broth and some other things as well. I'm going to hit it with some ketchup. Now you could use a regular ketchup. I'm going to go a little more spicy today, friends. More spicy ketchup. And I'm aiming to put about a cup's worth of ketchup in here. You notice I did not measure this off, so we're going to give it the old eyeball test here on this one. And you know what? I think we might get in pretty close. We're going to hold off right there. All right. And then we're going to hit it with just a little bit of yellow mustard on there for ourselves. This will not be very much here. And then last but not least, now I've seen different recipes and people doing this recipe before where they use some type of steak seasoning, a Montreal steak seasoning, whatever you want. You know what? When I have beef, I love using Holy Cow from Meat Church. So that's what we're going with today as well. So I'm going to go ahead and be real generous with that in there. All right. And what we're going to do is we are going to so I'm going to start to blend this together. And I got one more ingredient that I want to place in here. All right. There we go. Just got it slightly mixed up. And then I've got myself, which is about a 1/4 cup of brown sugar, and we're going to place that in there as well. That'll give it that sweetness that you typically get, and maybe that can-bought Sloppy Joe mix. All right. We're not going to use the canned stuff tonight. We're going to go with the bones and brewich. How about that? All right, we're going to continue to blend this together, my friends. And then what we're going to do is we're going to let this sit and simmer for about 15 minutes. All right, we'll come back then and take a look. So you can see this is sitting at that simmer. You might be asking, why are we letting this simmer? Well, ultimately, we're letting that mixture, that ketchup, that brown sugar, everything else we placed in there to really blend into that meat, give it a nice consistency, let all those tastes and everything kind of blend right through before we place it in the oven. Now, I'm going to leave it here and let it simmer, like I said, for about 10 minutes. And then what I'm going to just put in the oven at about 350 once I put some cheese on here to let things kind of get nice and melted. You could also let it simmer a little bit longer and then throw it into that nice hot broiler for maybe 2 or 3 minutes just to quickly get those cheeses melted as well. Is really either way is the right way. I just like to put it in the oven and let those cheeses more slowly melt, so then everything else in there also continues to blend together behind the scenes. All right, it's about time to get that cheese on there and get it in the oven. As you guys know, I'm always a little partial to shredding my own cheese and not using the bag stuff as much as I can, so I don't get that texture that's on that shredded cheese. I just want that true sharp cheddar in there. And of course, I always go with the Tillamook cheese if I can get my hands on it. So we're gonna take our block of cheese here, and really I'm just trying to use my shredder right over the top, so I can get just enough cheese to give a nice coating all the way through. Now, it's nothing wrong with using that bag cheese if you want to, my friends. Also, something else I will mention is, most of my recipes we typically are doing outside on that smoker. And this is one you could do from this point forward on that smoker as well. And just let it sit on that smoker. That way you absorb some of that smoke, texture and flavor in there, and then also let those cheeses melt and let all those other ingredients continue to blend together as well. So we're going to continue to get these going here with this cheese, and then we will get it in the oven. All right, everything's ready. Let's get this in the oven. Let's take a look, my friends. I think it's ready. Oh yeah, look at that. Yes, let's start digging in. So we're gonna let this cool here, friends, for a couple of moments here so people don't burn the top of their mouth. Well, you could serve this with a nice crispy tortilla chip. Maybe you toast some baguette bread, you slice up some fresh bread. However you wanna do it, you can't go wrong. While it's cooling, you could also decide if you wanna top it off with anything. Now, I'm gonna be honest with you, I'm not doing that tonight, but maybe you wanna top it with some green onions. Maybe have some other ideas. Maybe you wanted to go back a step and maybe use a different type of cheese. It is all up to you. Get creative, have some fun with it. We'll let this cool, and then we'll give it that final taste test. Well, friends, it's time. Got myself the old tortilla chip. Let's give it a taste test. Hopefully it's not still piping hot. Now, I love this in that cast iron, and we had it in that oven for about 10 minutes as well. There's a nice brown edge, crispy edge around the outside. Oh yeah, my friends. As you probably hear me crunching that tortilla chip, absolutely delicious. I mean, this takes a sloppy joe that you got the canned stuff that you made quick at home, which is nothing wrong with that, especially on a quick weeknight. But it takes that to the next level, my friends, and using it as a dip, as an appetizer, especially this time of year when every weekend you got some playoff football going on, college playoffs, college football championship, Super Bowl is going to be soon. This, my friends, is an incredible, easy dip to make that people are going to love. It'll probably go on quickly, so you may want to double or even triple the recipe. We're going to keep enjoying this. We hope you guys hit that subscribe button. We'll see you guys again on Bones Brews.